inside their midfield. If you were to turn around and say to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that potentially you will lose Pogba, but it might well give you the money that's required to go to Borussia Dortmund next summer to sign Jadon Sancho to get the player that you want on the right side of your attack, or if we can get you a player to replace Matic at the base of your midfield, or we can get you a centre-back with the money that we save from getting rid of Paul Pogba, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would say, fine, I'll plough ahead with De Beek and with Bruno Fernandes in the middle of my midfield and find me a player who can screen just in behind them. Actually, they could add a bit of balance to the team because Paul Pogba is like a number 8 who wants to play like a number 10. And there's no way that you can get Pogba, De Beek and Fernandes into the one team. And I would imagine that, like, the rumour was that Solskjaer didn't particularly want De Beek last summer, but the club had to be thinking ahead about Paul Pogba's departure when they signed him, because there's no way all three of them fit into a side when there are 3 elite players on the club's book at the one time.
Yeah, unless, of course, Paul Pogba plays the role that he played so well for France when they won the World Cup. There's, again, just been no indication that he's happy to do that at club level as of yet. So, look, we'll tease this out with Graham in just a minute. We'd love to hear from you if you're a Manchester United fan. 087 9 180 180. A reminder, of course, that OTB AM is live in association with Gillette. Good morning to start with Gillette, giving you the confidence to tackle the day ahead. It's a big night in the Champions League. That Group B, which looked like on paper it was going to be grand for Manchester United, or sorry, for Real Madrid. Mönchengladbach have 8 points, Shakhtar have 7, Real Madrid have 7 and Inter have 5. Head-to-head record will mean that Madrid go out if they only equal what Shakhtar Donetsk do tonight. So Real Madrid against Mönchengladbach, Inter versus Shakhtar. Real beat Sevilla at the weekend by a 0-0. The Sevilla team are doing all right. Before that, they had 2 losses and a draw in their previous 3 La Liga matches, and they play Atletico at the weekend in the league. So Zinedine Zidane under pressure. That's what we're going to talk to Graham about in just a moment. And that whole kind of notion that Pochettino is just waiting there, making TV appearances with his luxurious hair, you know, being everything that Zidane isn't.
Yeah, and like it's an absolutely crucial week for them because Atletico Madrid currently sit top of La Liga when we would have expected the defending champions Real Madrid to be at the top this season. It's La Real as opposed to Real Madrid and Real Sociedad, who are the closest challengers to Atletico Madrid, who have been just getting results week on week, beat Barcelona a few weeks ago and went top at the weekend when Real Sociedad were held to a draw by Athletic Bilbao. So Real Madrid have been way off the pace. I mean, not as bad as Barcelona, who are currently sitting above the relegation places, but Real Madrid have not been impressive. They've got done in that group twice by Shakhtar Donetsk home and away, and that's what's left them in this reasonably perilous position. You would still think, though, that they'd get a win against Borussia Mönchengladbach to qualify at home for the last 16 is still very doable. Like, Inter have been such a disappointment in that group.
I'll come back to you on that in a minute, Will, because we've got Graham back. Graham, good morning to you. You're back again. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. That was Mineral, I'm sure, interfering with our sound waves.
Yeah, no worries. Look, we've been chatting away a little bit about Real Madrid, and I'll come to that in a second. But we did want to ask: is there some? Will made the point about the Juve Barcelona dealings being essentially off books dealings. Is there anything that Barcelona or Real Madrid might have? Some young players, for example, that Manchester United might covet that would allow them to do a deal that doesn't impact or impinge financial fair play or balance sheets in a way that is like, actually, we can swap you one of our 19-year-old wunderkinds at Barcelona for Paul Pogba, and that's something that could happen in this window?
Well, look, first of all, I don't think that Barcelona have any interest in Pogba. And secondly, while Pogba was an objective of Florentino Perez, I think times have moved on, and Florentino Perez is now building a war chest to take to try and take, because I think it's going to be difficult, either Haaland or Mbappe. With Mbappe being first choice. I do not believe that there is either the will, nor a financial war chest, not even the swap deals that would easily take Pogba to Real Madrid. Barcelona, I think, is an absolute no-go. I cannot overstate how difficult financial situation Barcelona are in right now, and Paul Pogba does not figure.
Right, well, look, that's fair enough. The financial situation that Barcelona find themselves in is matched by the situation they find themselves in on the field and in the table, where they are closer to the relegation zone than they are to the Champions League. It is a remarkable fall from grace. You know, the worst possible prognostications about what would happen under Koeman are coming to pass.
To some degree, I have to disagree to a small extent in that everything you said about the league is spot on. But his progress in the Champions League right now, and I'm not talking for the fans, I'm talking about the critical situation this club, without a board, without a president, are in. They're so financially overstretched that the fact that he's earned upwards of 60 million already for qualifying from the group, being in a state to face Cristiano Ronaldo at Camp Nou, Juventus at Camp Nou tonight, with going for a record of 6 wins in the group that they've only ever done once. That's the only 2 teams have ever done. The financial part of my answer is the only reason I go a little bit off your point. Domestically, they have varied from being devastating at the Camp Nou occasionally to being pallid and weak and easy to beat on the road and packed full of mistakes everywhere. And one of the things that probably would be most worrying for them, Jerry, is that on the weekend, having played really well for 3-4 games in the trot, they went to Cadiz, a newly promoted side who hadn't won at home for many, many months, taken apart very easily, and they looked worse with Busquets, Coutinho and Messi back in the side. They'd been rested, those 3. Particularly Coutinho and Messi had been rested sufficiently during the season, and they looked sluggish, and they looked a mess, a muddle. And they haven't in recent weeks. So the Koeman project has been deeply interesting to watch if you're neutral, if you're a fan. It will have you delirious 1 minute and tearing your hair out the next, which I suppose is the nature of sport.
Graham, I was watching that Cadiz game at the weekend, and there was a few kind of things that were echoes of the other defeats that Barcelona have had in the league so far this season. Another mistake by Ter Stegen in the build-up to the winner for Negredo. But also, in terms of Koeman's tactics, it feels an awful lot like for an Irish fan like Van Gaal's Holland team coming to Lansdowne Road in 2001. In the 3 big games that they've lost this season against Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid and against Cadiz, the only solution that Koeman seems to have is to try and get every attacker onto the pitch for the last 15 minutes. And again, he had 4 or 5 front players on the pitch and they created very little. It doesn't say a huge amount about Koeman's tactics in terms of breaking teams down in these big games.
Oh, and again, I disagree and agree. First of all, it wasn't Ter Stegen's fault. He was left lost completely by Longley and Alba. A terrible throw in, the ball thrown right onto Ter Stegen's patch when he was closed down by Negredo and did his very best to intervene without getting sent off. The point you make about the substitutions is bang on the money. Koeman seems to be somebody who has done immense good on a daily basis in the training ground. He's changed the atmosphere. He's got Messi not sulking, but he's got the young players believing in themselves. The work ethic is better in training. When Barcelona have played well, they played very well. They've never won in Turin against Juventus, for example, before they did in this group. Occasionally at home, in the most recent game, for example, against Osasuna, the football is flowing, it looks nice. He's incorporating extremely youth in this side just at the right time when you need it. Substitutions, as you point out, it seems to be close his eyes and throw everybody on. But it's not just the cavalry charge that you're accusing him of. Against Real Madrid, for example, neither Pedri nor Coutinho played well from the start. Coutinho in a position that wasn't really his. Koeman took 70, 75 minutes to really recognise it, never mind trying to do something about it. In terms of in-game management, reading the situation, finding a strategy, and not just throwing bodies on, but saying, I know what I want to do. Here's something which should have an effect. Which in these times of ultra-tired players, because of the way that we've treated them, because of the shutdown in spring, because of the short pre-season, you're having games that are broken, you're having games whereby astute substitutions are more often showing clearly to the analyst and making differences in the game. The team isn't doing that. You're spot on.
Yeah. Graham, we'll let you go. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Cheers.
Cheers now.
It's Graham Hunter at 8 o'clock.